Hello, ladies and gentlemen and gentlewomen and citizens of the wonderful so-called YouTube world. What is going on today? Hope you're doing well on this fantastic evening or morning, wherever you might be in this beautiful planet of ours called Planet Earth. My name's Icy, and happy Mother's Day. You should definitely go out there and hug the shit out of your mothers, because they really do deserve your love and attention. If you don't give them some right now, I'll probably have to find you and personally strike you down to the ground and whatnot. But as always, welcome back for yet another gaming-related video. This time we're talking Neverwinter again. And for those of you who don't know what Neverwinter is, it's an MMO that basically came out for the whole gaming community to try. It's an open beta, and it was in closed beta for about a month or so, and then on April 13th, that's when the game went open beta. And for an open beta game, Neverwinter has a ton of content to go through. And it's also free to play, so that's also why you should definitely go visit the official website and download the client, because it's free and you can try out all of the different classes, which there are only 5 available, and there's also a few races to try. There are plenty of unique features which appear in this MMO that cannot be found in certain MMOs, and I'll talk about that in a few minutes and explain you guys why you should be playing Neverwinter. Now, you're probably wondering, why are you making this video? Well, I'm trying to make this video to convince you guys to play the game called Neverwinter, because it's really fun and it's free to play, and why not play a free to play MMO like this? It's an MMO that will make you want to play when you're not necessarily playing with your friends. There's a lot of content available for solo players especially, which is really satisfying, because myself, I'm a very introverted person, and I often like to level by myself. I like to level with other people, but sometimes it's mentally draining to try to keep up with the other players, or to have to wait for the others to finish their quests. So sometimes I like to do some solo play, even in an MMO. That sounds kind of weird. MMOs are usually supposed to be played in a multiplayer environment, but there's a lot of solo content available in this game, and I'll get to why you guys should be playing this game. So, I'm starting up a new series called MMO Musings, and the series is all going to be about me questioning the different aspects of MMOs and why you should be doing this in an MMO or playing this particular MMO, and what makes X MMO great based on its Y features, different features, key features, which are unique and innovative. And on today's video, we're going to be talking on why you people should be playing Neverwinter. So, there are plenty of cool things that appear in this MMO. Now, before we jump on the actual topic, let's talk a little bit about Dungeons Dragons and its history. So, for those of you who don't know Dungeons and Dragons, but I'm pretty sure most of you do know what it is. Dungeons & Dragons is a structured yet open-ended role-playing game that's played on a board. So you can play the game IRL, in real life. So you play the game with other friends, and you basically role-play the character that you want to play. You can be a fighter, you can be a mage, a druid, you can heal your allies, or you can choose to play as the Dungeon Master, which is a vital role featured in the Dungeons & Dragons game. So in D&D, you customize your character, you add in stats, you have to level up, you have to fight monsters with your other teammates. Usually D&D is played with other people, and it's preferable to have at least 4 to 6 people in a D&D game, and D&D games can last forever if the Dungeon Master has enough content to provide. And so that is basically what Dungeons & Dragons essentially is. You play the character that you want to play, and you role play, and you fight monsters that are generated by the Dungeon Master. And so this game was then added into an MMO, which came out in 2006. In 2006, that's when certain developers from Turbine Incorporation or Corporation decided to create a game based on the actual board game. And so it was called Dungeons Dragons Online. It was made in 2006. Now, there's a big time difference there already between 2006 and 2013, which is when Neverwinter was made, the sequel of Dungeons and Dragons Online. So you can clearly see that there's a giant time gap there. It's been 7 years since the sequel hasn't been made, and it finally came out. So you can imagine how much content there was added since then, and there are definitely features which were not existent in the Dungeons & Dragons Online, but were featured in the board game, and it's also cool that the developers managed to add in much more content than before, and they also added different classes and a new race called the Tiefling. The Tiefling, I don't even know how to spell that right. So yes, there's a lot of new stuff to discover in this sequel called Neverwinter, Dungeons & Dragons Neverwinter, which is also based off the board game. It is actually based off the 4th edition of Dungeons & Dragons, and Neverwinter is the MMO that you'll definitely want to play. It's free, it's enjoyable, it's also enjoyable by yourself. You don't have to play with other people to succeed. You can usually play by yourself and then find a guild if you wish to, but it's not necessary. Dungeons & Dragons is also about role-playing in some way, because first of all, so when you first create your character, you can choose to be affiliated to a deity, or I don't know how to say that properly, but a god. You can choose to be affiliated to a certain god, and there are different types of gods out there, a god of knowledge or the goddess of love, and those will kind of impact on your gameplay in some way, because gods in the Neverwinter game act as offerings. So you invoke your god by using a certain spell, using the Control I button, and you can only do so by a campfire. And when you invoke a god, you get an offering from them. And usually what you get from these offerings are XP, astral diamonds, which is a type of currency that appears in the game, and you also get some kind of consumable or item which will buff you temporarily. Sometimes you'll get rare items, but I haven't gotten any as of yet. Anyway, that's not the point right now. So when you create your character, you can choose, the character customization itself is already so extensive. However, the hairstyles are kind of horrendous, and some of the customization features are kind of iffy, and they don't quite look good on the character, and that's only because the graphics in the Neverwinter game are not the most stellar ones. The environment is very pretty in the game, but the character graphics are kind of weird, and the animations itself are kind of iffy. They don't quite seem right, and some of them need to be fixed, to be perfectly honest. Like the Control Wizard animation for teleport is kind of weird. Like for the Tiefling guys, they just stop, or they keep having their arms in the air or some kind of thing. I don't know. It's just, I mean, this is open beta. What do you expect? There's a lot of things to be fixed right now, and a lot of the content seems to be running smoothly, and the graphics don't really require you to have a high-end computer, so that's a cool point about this game. But going back to the character customization, there's a lot to go through, to sift through when you're creating your character, and you can also add in a biography. You can write in a biography for your character, which is also a key factor to role-playing. It's also why D&D game... What am I trying to say? Oh, the biography is what really is inspired. It's inspired off the D&D role-playing factor. So when you write a biography, the biography itself doesn't really matter. It's just there for people that really want to pretend to be the greatest hero of all time, and you can basically write in whatever you want to write. You can even write goofy things if you wish, like, I am king of buttholes and I have conquered many lands of turds and piss and shit. I don't even know. But that's not the point right now. So yes, you can write in a biography. You can choose to be affiliated to the god that you want to be affiliated to, and then you can even write in a family name. When you're writing your name for the first time, you don't have to actually have just one name. You can have a family name and a first name, or you can have like something like, I am king of Daventry, or some fucking, I don't even know, something of that sort. Or I am king of Wastelands. Yeah, you can have like, you can create the name that you want to create, and I'm pretty sure that you can create more than one character of the same name. You can have more than one person in the same server having the same name as you do, because I do remember making a character called Daenerys Targaryen, and I saw someone in the main chat, in the zone chat, having the same name as I had, and that was quite odd. I was shocked, but I mean, I guess that you can make another character of the same name, but that's, I think that's only for now, because this is open beta, so I guess the developers really wanted to make everything available for the players. They didn't want to restrict any feature so far right now, so that's nice. So yes, creating your character is really interesting. Also, you can add in statistics to your character. So there are these stats called ability scores, which also appear in the D&D board game, and these are stats which will impact your skills and attributes and how much damage you do on the battlefield, or how long you can last on the battlefield. So you have 6 different stats called strength, constitution, which is for health, intellect, wisdom, and charisma and dexterity. Those are the 6 key attributes which you will want to look at when you're creating your character. And when you're creating your character, you have a preset of attributes. So depending on the class that you choose, you have stats which are already counted for you in some way, so you don't have to do the math. All you have to do at that point is roll the dice, and then you can choose which are the best stats for your characters, or the stats that you want to keep. Like, you don't necessarily have to have the highest amount of dex when you're playing a rogue. Maybe you'll want to have a little bit of charisma or constitution if you're a rogue that is going to focus on dealing a lot of damage to multiple mobs. I don't know, that kind of thing. Or if you're more of a role-playing person and you want to learn how to get the best rewards by talking to NPCs, you'll want to get charisma, because that'll get you going with the quest aspect of the game. So that's that. Also, let's talk about combat right now. So the combat in Neverwinter is, you know, not the most creative combat out there, but it's very engaging nevertheless. It's very action-based, and a positive point about the combat that I have to point out is that you don't tab target an enemy if you want to fight it. All you have to do is aim it with your mouse cursor. There's a little icon in the middle of your screen, which you use to target your enemy, and you don't necessarily have to point the enemy with that thing. You can kind of hit it if it's off to the side of the enemy, and you can, sometimes you'll manage to hit it, but sometimes you don't. And it's easier to hit, of course, when you're dealing with multiple enemies, like you're seeing right now on the screen, because you're actually looking at some footage of my main character, who's hitting multiple zombies right now using his icon thingy, which is in the middle of the screen, as you're seeing right now. So yeah, that's a cool thing about the combat. Also, you deal additional... Oh, before I get into flanking, you can actually acquire companions in the game, which are kind of like hunter pets or ranger pets, but everyone gets to have a companion, a pet quote unquote. You can have a wolf, you can have a human companion, you can have a badger or an eagle or I don't know, some kind of weird monstrosity as your companion. But companions also appear in the D&D game, and companions are one of the most unique aspects of the Neverwinter game. This is not something that you'll find in any other MMO. Well, I guess you could find it at least in one MMO, but companions are really unique because you get to train them. You can send them off to training to level them up, and you have to do so if you really want to succeed at the game, especially if you're going to do exclusively solo play. You're going to want to have a very well-trained companion. And in this video, you can clearly see that I have a companion. It's a cleric disciple, and I chose that companion only because I needed heals, and I didn't want to waste too many potions, because in this game, you have to use a ton of healing potions if you're not a class that can heal itself. And the only class that can do so right now is the devoted cleric, which I kind of have an issue with. I think there is at least one ability for each class that kind of restores health, but it's not really impactful. It doesn't make a whole lot of difference. So I do have an issue with that, but it doesn't really matter because you can really just buy a ton of potions with the gold that you've collected throughout the game. So companions are really interesting to acquire. They're cool companions. They really follow you. They're very responsive. They do whatever you want them to do. They have 2 main spells, and then as you level up, you get to unlock more companions that have more useful spells and spells that will affect groups in dungeons. And now flanking is another cool feature about combat. Now, flanking is basically when you fight a monster that's in between you and your companion or another player. Now, when the enemy is standing between the two of you, you get to do extra damage to the enemy. So that's also, flanking also appears in the D&D board game. When you're flanking an enemy, you're doing extra damage. I don't know how that works out. I don't know why it is that way, but that's something that's really cool and useful in Neverwinter, and it shows you that Neverwinter's a game that's also about positioning, because also when you're fighting enemies, you have certain area of effects sections that you'll want to avoid. When you're fighting enemies, some of the enemies will cast certain spells which they're charging up, and when they're doing so, you'll see either a big giant circle on the ground or a giant cone that you'll want to avoid at all times, or most of the time, because when you avoid these things, you'll take minimal amounts of damage. And so this already proves you that Neverwinter is a very strategy-focused game. There's already flanking, those area of effect circles and cones that you have to avoid, and then there are stats attributes that you want to focus on that when you're building your character. So while the combat is very action oriented, the logistics of the game and how you're supposed to fight and how you're supposed to build your character and how you're supposed to react on the battlefield is very strategy focused. So it's kind of nice to see that there was a balance between action and strategy, and it's really it's really nice. I can't say otherwise. I don't know how else to explain it, but there's a really cool balance between action and strategy, so you don't easily get bored when you're fighting enemies, because you're always doing something that's sort of intelligent. You're not just always standing in one place, and you're using certain abilities, different abilities, which are more effective if you stand in this way, or if you fight an enemy from that distance or this distance. It is all about how you're fighting in the game is interesting, and sometimes you have to do it in a smart way, and at other times you don't necessarily have to to think too much. You can just grind and hit multiple enemies as long as you have good equipment, great stats, and enchanted items. Now, that's pretty much about, that's what combat is essentially about in Neverwinter. It's interesting. It's not really creative and completely new, but it combines different types of combat from other MMOs such as Terra Online, which is very action focused, and other strategy-based MMOs such as World of Warcraft. I really hate comparing World of Warcraft to Neverwinter, but you kind of have to do it. I could say EverQuest, but I have never played that game. So that's that. Another cool thing about Neverwinter is looting. How you loot money is actually very, very cool. So instead of actually pressing a button to constantly pick up money, you can just walk over the sum of money, and that's how you're supposed to collect money. That is how all MMOs, in my opinion, should work, is when you see money drop, you pick it up. You don't have to press anything. If it's an item such as armor or equipment or swords or gems, then you might, then a key would be really useful to have, and that's the case in this game at least. So all money goes directly to you. When you walk over it, you get the money. And by the way, loot in Neverwinter is always mostly shared. Money is all shared between players, and there's also a greed roll / need loot system in Neverwinter, kind of like in World of Warcraft. So when you're doing a dungeon, you're rolling for items, and you are analyzing whether it is better for you or someone else to have the item, and there are certain items which are class specific, and sometimes you'll want to pass on these items or greed if no one else is needing on the actual item. So that's cool. Altars, and okay, so there's, when you heal yourself, how do you heal yourself in the game? So you have devoted clerics, which are your healing class. If you're not a devoted cleric, you can use potions. You can use altars, which are a completely new feature in this MMO. So a portable altar is basically like a campfire that you can use almost anywhere. If you're out of potions, or if you need to heal the whole group, if you don't have a devoted cleric and you need to heal the whole group before a boss fight, then you'll want to put up a portable altar, which you can put down to heal your allies, and it quickly heals everyone's health pool in a matter of seconds. It's a really cool feature of healing in this game, and it's really something that players should utilize more. But in the late part of the game, in endgame content, portable altars are not really relevant anymore, because the potions which you will have and the devoted clerics which will accompany you will out-heal the portable altars quickly and more effectively. So other than portable altars, I guess you can use, campfires also are healing stations, which you will find in many quest zones. When you're traveling through a zone, you can stop by at a campfire. If you see one in your map, it's usually a little icon that shows up as a campfire, and you'll want to stop there if you're out of potions again. And if you don't have a cleric disciple companion, as I do, you'll want to utilize these campsites to revitalize yourself. So that's another cool part about this game. Quest pathing is really helpful in this game. So you always, when you do quests, you always have this line of glitter which appears on the ground, and that shows you the way where you're supposed to follow. Like, there's a path of glitter that appears on the ground, and you're always supposed to, sorry, I was gonna burp, but you're always supposed to follow that path to complete the quest, and that will quicken the leveling process by far. The quest pathing is so helpful that you do not want to avoid using it. The questing system just gives you it takes you by the hand, and it's so easy to level through that you can't really complain about the questing system. I do have one complaint about it, and that is that certain quests are not seem to be not tracked anymore because of how quickly you level. Sometimes you'll skip a quest by accident, or you'll start one quest before the other in a non-chronological order, and that'll sometimes fuck up your questing order, and that'll stop the quest pathing from working, and you can't, at some point you can't actually track the quest anymore. I don't know if that happens to some of the Neverwinter players, but that really happened to me, and I was really frustrated about that, but that's a minor complaint. So also, there's a lot of dungeons that you can go through, and another cool feature about Neverwinter is that you can play dungeons solo. You don't have to have a group to run a dungeon. Now, certain dungeons will require you to have 4 other players, but most of the dungeons can be completed with 1 player or with a group. It's not obligated to have a full group to complete a dungeon, and you can always do it with you and your companion, or just by yourself if you wish to, if you want to give yourself a challenge. And so there are very few dungeons which require you to have a full group, which is really cool, and that's what makes Neverwinter really unique, because you can role play by yourself, or you can role play with other people. It's really your choice, and that's really satisfying. So there are a ton of decisions which players can make when they're playing Neverwinter. They can choose to play by themselves. They can create the most goofy-ass characters that they want to create, or they can create the perfect, strongest character by using the right stats and the most effective abilities and whatnot. So, a complaint that I have about this game is that there are only 2 character slots. I don't understand why there are only 2, but this is open beta, so there might be an overload of people at times, and there's a lot of maintenance that's been going on lately, so I can't really complain. The developers are trying to stabilize the servers every now and then, and it's understandable to have only 2 character slots, but I don't know if they will enlarge the amount of character slots available when the game actually goes officially out there. So right now you have to pay for additional character slots. You can actually buy some more, but you have to pay real life money. Now, another cool part about Neverwinter is that harvesting skills are class specific. So when you're harvesting something, you can only harvest the things which your class can harvest. So let's say you're a control wizard. You can only harvest what is it called? Arcane kits, which you can naturally harvest without using any kits. Now, if you want to harvest other kits which you can't harvest with your class, you'll have to buy harvest kits, which, let's say if you're still playing your control wizard and want to, let's say, harvest a nature kit, then you can only harvest that nature kit if you have a nature item in your inventory, which you can buy from the merchant. If you wish to if you wish to spend some money to get those kits, then why not? But to be honest, you can always grab some kits off monsters and enemies which you're killing, so kits will drop every now and then for you to use when you're harvesting, so that's interesting. But every class can harvest a specific item, and when you're harvesting a nature kit or a dungeoneering kit, you always get a set of different items which are kind of useful for crafting, or when you're fighting on the battlefield and all that. And lastly, one cool thing about this game is that there are 3 different types of currencies. You have your coins, which are the general currency, which you will use to buy potions, basic equipment, kits, like I've said before. There is a currency called Zen, which is currency that you pay with real life money. And then you have Astral Diamonds, which is probably the most important currency that you will want to use when you're buying high-level equipment. So Astral Diamonds are mostly used for buying enchanting items or scrolls, identification scrolls, and high-leveled equipment for like level 40 or 60. And so these are the main type of currencies, and they can be converted between each other if you have a great amount of one currency. Like, let's say you have enough Astral Diamonds, you can convert those Astral Diamonds into Zen, and you can do vice versa between all of those 3 currencies, which is really cool. There is another currency called the Seals, which you collect to have to buy very high leveled equipment, which is like probably the best equipment that you'll find in the game. So seals are something which you acquire when you kill bosses in dungeons. Actually, before we finish the video, there is one more important key feature that really makes Neverwinter unique, and that is foundries. Foundries are user-created dungeons. So I haven't personally tried out making a foundry myself, but what I imagine when you're making the foundry is that you get a preset dungeon and you can customize it the way that you want it to be. And when you're creating quests, you can add in the dialogue and the quest text, so you can actually create the name of the NPCs and the dungeons, and you can actually run your own dungeons. And there is a foundry system on which players can rate the foundry. So if you make the best foundry out there, I think you get some kind of reward, or you just get featured on the main Neverwinter page. I don't know, but it's really cool that the developers are giving the player the ability to be the developers, so to say, themselves, by creating dungeons and generating quest dialogue and all of that. So that's a really innovative feature that appears in Neverwinter, and that I haven't seen in any other MMO. And if you have seen one that's like that, then you have to show me that MMO and prove me wrong. But guys, that is all I had to talk about for Neverwinter, and these are some of the features which will make you the viewers want to play the game. This is my explanation of why you viewers should be playing the game and trying it out for the first time. I really recommend it. It's free. There's a load of content to go through, and if you have a few friends that aren't playing an MMO, then this is probably the MMO for you. It's not really challenging to play, but as you level and level more, it gets increasingly challenging. And when you're fighting certain monsters, fights might last more than 5 minutes, let's say, and you'll definitely die at some points. It's not necessarily the easiest game. The first few levels are easy to go through, but it gets increasingly more difficult as you progress more and more. But guys, that is all I had to talk about for this video. I really hope you enjoyed it, and make sure to talk about the actual game, and yeah, that's pretty much what I had to prove you guys for why Neverwinter is the MMO that you should be trying out right now. Anyway, people, that is all I had to say. I'll see you later, people. Goodbye.